LinkedIn presents.
This is the Forbes Books Podcast, conversations with remarkable folks who are impacting the world of business and beyond. Hola, I'm Joe Pardavila, and this week I'm joined by an entrepreneur, TikTok star, and a trailblazer in the archery world. Kendall Tichner is the founder and CEO of Wild Captives, the first female and LGBTQ brand in the archery space, which offers fun, friendly, and inclusive content and products for anyone who wants to feel empowered and magical with a bow and arrow. She's got over 600,000 followers on TikTok, where she showcases her amazing shots and skills, and she also runs a demo space in Brooklyn where she teaches classes and hosts events. Kendall's here to talk about her journey of discovering archery, creating her own company and community, and changing the face of the sport. Kendall, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.
So, Kendall, I want to start at the beginning because as a kid, I was highly influenced by entertainment. If I came of age during Hunger Games, I'm sure I would have picked up a bow and arrow. But what was it that drew you to a bow and arrow? And I apologize if that's not the right vernacular, if there's like a fancier word for it. But how did you get into it?
No, bow and arrow is right. It is a bow and arrow.
Okay.
And I'm a bit of like a hobbyist. I'm a birder. I'm a forager, and I just am like a tinkerer in general. I consider myself a Boy Scout without the Boy Scouts. And over the pandemic, it was kind of like the first time I've ever had kind of like space as an adult to play again. And I was doing a lot of like inner child work and just personal healing things. And I had a lot of physical space as well as mental space for the first time in a long time. And just kind of randomly, I guess subconsciously influenced from, I do love fantasy and Game of Thrones and Hunger Games and all these apocalyptic media, television and movies. So I guess subconsciously, and then we're living in this apocalyptic time. And so I think the world kind of delivered that but yeah, I just picked it up because to tinker, I ordered one off of Amazon. I hadn't seen anyone I know really try it out in a while, but I just ordered a bow online without any knowledge of size, structure, what kind of bow I wanted. And for some reason, I stayed committed to that journey of figuring out which one works for me, because I probably ordered like 5 of the wrong sizes and bows and weights. But eventually, it was one of those things that I just started to get kind of good, and it became pretty addicting and meditative.
Wow. Wait, so you never picked up a bow until 3 years ago, or even like were familiar with it?
I had done it like most people in summer camp, or like
Okay.
I've held the bow before.
Okay.
And like I've always been drawn to archery. I think I like always got the archery award at camp, but never had I practiced consistently or even thought about having my own bow. Okay. I guess I would say it's like I did it as much as like the average person bowls, maybe once a year at most.
I got it. Yeah, because I'm like getting visions of like Tiger Woods, like this Kendall Tichner picks up a bow and all of a sudden she's able to start shooting bows in the middle of a pandemic. So I'm like, how the hell did that even happen? So when you picked it up for the first time, or after those 5 incorrectly ordered bows, when did you realize that, oh my God, this is like riding a bike? This is just how I used to do it in summer camp and win medals. Did it come to you?
No, honestly, I didn't. I started, so it was also when TikTok first was kind of exploding in the US. I think because of the pandemic, a lot of people were just living virtually. So there was just TikTok, it's still booming, but it was like when TikTok was like really cementing itself as part of everybody's everyday life, right? Mm-hmm. And so I did share my journey of like when I first started to shoot, and I don't mean to sound like not giving myself credit, but I didn't realize that I was good really kind of until I started to post online, and people were just like, whoa, and even archers were like, I've been arching for 10 years and I can't do that. And
Wow.
I was like, whoa, I guess I personally think anyone can be pretty good at it. And it's like a sport that's gate kept. And so I think that if you practice and you have the right equipment and you have good like hand-eye coordination and are in touch with your body, everyone can be pretty much as good as me. I don't think I'm like a savant at it necessarily at all, but I think it's something that just people aren't used to doing. So it seems like I'm a lot better than I probably am.
All right, so let's step back to your pre-pandemic life, because from what I understand, you were a marketing person. You worked in marketing, and then the world got shut down. Before the pandemic, did you envision something like this ever happening, like you going on your own, building something? Or were you always, and I'm going to use just the term like a corporate drone, like working for a company, working for the man, as they say? Was that part of just like your tract, and then the pandemic sort of changed all that?
That's a good question. So I've been fortunate that, this is my first time venturing on my own and being an entrepreneur. But I would say I've been lucky enough to be able to be an entrepreneur in my past jobs. So even though I did work for corporations and been 10 years marketing director and working all jobs up until that, I was lucky that the projects I worked on always had, like, they grew with me. So I was able to create within that sphere. So, like, for example, the space in which we're at right now, I was marketing director here for 5 years, and it's a commercial real estate old factory. So I love adaptive reuse, urban planning. And so, like, my passion still is like underutilized spaces in cities and how to make them collaborative spaces for artists, creatives, and people to come together and have joy and community. And so this space, I was marketing director here, but I was able to create, like, for example, our art program. So I curated all of the public art installations throughout the campus, and got to, work with a lot of artists I really admire and have people I really like make giant sculptures for the first time and pay artists and kind of be the link between the corporations and the creatives. I want to say I've been lucky, but I've worked really hard before this in, like, a really niche world of, adaptive reuse old factories. Even though I have been 9 to 5ing slave to, I've always been able to kind of lead, and
Yeah.
create, which made it. But I did reach a point where I saw myself, with no offense to the spaces, but like that, no matter what I do, I can't control the fate of a project. So even though I could have good intention, it's not mine, And like, I did feel an entrepreneurial bug forever, and
Wow.
I'm honestly, I'm so proud of myself that that I have a company now, because I think it's been something I've wanted.
That's awesome. And so, Kendall, as you know, I kind of make a living speaking to entrepreneurs on a daily basis. And to each, I always say, are you crazy? Like, it's so hard. I know, Kendall, I'm sure you've seen the stats, like 80% of startups fail within the first 2 years. And there are all sorts of dire, like the odds are against people to succeed in a world of entrepreneurship. That scares the shit out of me, Kendall. I mean, how do you deal with all of that? All of like the sort of like the dark cloud that surrounds being a business owner in a modern world?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm similar to you, where like I'm an information junkie and I like learn by doing. So it does kind of feel like worst comes to worst, I've impacted a lot of people's lives positively, and I can use all of the knowledge and experience in my next endeavor. However, I do feel like, Wild Captives as has been a passion project of mine for a really long time. It has my soul in it. So I don't think I will ever be able to, like, I trust my ability to recreate and make new projects, but this one is so special to me. So I hope it doesn't have the fate of the rest. But no matter what, I think everyone's biggest fear is wondering what if. And I am so grateful to not, and I spent a long time being stuck and like, and scared. And I don't know what switched, but I am so happy to not feel stuck anymore. And even if it burns to the ground, it won't be all lost.
I love that. Love it so much. And you mentioned Wild Captive, so let's put it all together. You're working in marketing. Pandemic happens. You start shooting bows and arrows in the middle of the desert, and then spark, a Oprah aha moment strikes you as to, oh, this could be a thing. You know how when comedians talk, like they pitch jokes, they're like, is this a thing? When did you realize what you were doing was a thing?
My videos started to go viral on TikTok doing archery. And the majority, like maybe 10,000 comments on some of them. When I say viral, I mean like, 10 million views on some of them. Some of them have 16 million views, like big numbers where I've never even And you have no concept of how many people that is because it's during the pandemic, right? So like it's all just kind of like video game slot machine numbers because really I'm alone in the middle of nowhere. But the videos that went viral, it was hard to read all the comments, but you do notice like patterns of comments. And there was maybe 10,000 comments on some of them of women, queer people, and just general people asking me, what bows do you recommend? This looks so fun. How can I get started? And, and as I was getting more followers on TikTok, also like Archery and sporting good companies reached out as an influencer asking me to, promote products and such. But the thing was, and I don't mean to generalize because I think there's been a lot of progress here, but almost all of the American archery companies were focused on a hunting demographic. So a lot of people over dead animals. And the people asking me for recommendations, just because I am a queer woman in New York, LA, I also don't mean to generalize, but like cosplayers, fantasy people, a demographic that wasn't represented in archery. In America, for some reason, this peaceful sport that is a martial arts is very associated with hunting. So it's very like predator prey. But what about just doing it for the sake of doing it? There really wasn't. There was competitive archery websites and hunting archery websites. And what about people who just wanted to feel empowered, live their fantasy, and be their own hero? There was no one doing that. So I knew that I wanted to start a business. I'm an avid birder too. So it was like, all right, I think I have to make a bow.
How does one make a bow?
Yeah, it was really hard. So like,
Okay, it sounds hard.
I made a bow kit. So I made a kit that comes with everything you need to get started with backyard archery. It was I think it took me 6 months to get to our final design to find production. And now, we have a bow kit that I sell to people.
That's amazing. And so that's basically how Wild Captives started, as just like, hey, I'm going to make a bow, right? That was sort of like the first step.
Oh, okay. No, Wild Captives as a Instagram account, I've had for, I think, 10 years as a foraging urban plant and birding account. So I've been like cultivating it as a kind of like urban ecology, citizen scientist platform just for fun for myself as I've done corporate jobs as a way to like have an outlet to connect with people. So if you scroll back into our Instagram, it's a lot of me being like, here is plantain. It could coagulate and help you when you have a cut. And like, it's mulberry season, people. So like Wild Captives has existed. And actually, when I was launching this company, I was trying to think of different names for the archery and the new company. And I'm usually pretty good at like branding and this, but like the name never came to me. And then I was like, oh, it's because I already have it.
So let's talk about the evolution of Wild Captives. You talked about how it was an Instagram account, then sort of became the name of your brand. What's next for it? Like, where does this go? Like you mentioned earlier, there's no one defined thing of what Wild Captives is.
I know, it's kind of crazy. It's actually because, I'm a marketer and a content creator. Like that's like what comes naturally to me. But I've had to really switch into like operations producer mode to get this all done. We haven't even fundraised yet. It's been a wild ride. And so my original thought of it is like, and what I hope it to grow to is a modern Boy Scouts for adults in cities without the Boy Scouts. So I want to do gamified experiences where people learn lost hands-on practical skills like archery, bird watching, urban bird watching, plant foraging, anything that gets you using your hands and like engaging in a tactile way with the world around you. And so like creating not expert level things, but like ways in which people can just create new awareness and new skills for themselves that gives them a sense of connection, preparedness, kind of like scouting does, but it's just been previously for boys or for pre-military, like spatial awareness, using your resources around you. That's my vision, is to do, archery. And then you have like Boy Scouts, you get badges, you get like intro to archery. We have the kit, we have everything you need. And then you can take it to the next level, or that's good. Birding, you get little challenges and enough information to get started. I want to make binoculars. That's a product I'm really interested in making just because I love my binoculars. And then like creating like a gamified experience where people can be in the real world, teaching themselves and learning with each other. So that is the umbrella, is to be a modern Boy Scouts Boy Scouts, I feel like is the right word, but I know the organization is tainted, but Boy Scouts without the Boy Scouts for people living in cities, all genders. And yeah, it's interesting. And then I have this space that I have my studio in. And because the videos online have been taking off, a lot of people are asking me to come shoot. And so that's something that I'm entertaining also, which is creating like, I don't know, that part I think I need help with. I mean, what's next is I need help. Um, more products. I need help. I need it to be not. I think I've literally pushed it as far as I can.
It seems like you have this vision and it's pretty clear. And I know you've kind of hinted at fundraising and help here, but you don't want just any help. I think to you, it's very specific as to who you want to align yourself with. You talked about earlier about the way the bow industry is geared towards, a certain population. So how do you thread the needle of finding people in your space that align with your goals and aspirations?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think for me, it's clear who gets it and who doesn't when I talk to them. Some people understand it immediately and some people don't. The truth is we're in this work from home world and like people are sad and on their computers all day and feel disconnected from the places they live, from each other. And like, to me, it's like I see it as anybody who's been on their computer and wanted to take a pottery class, this like primal urge to use your hands and create something and feel this sense of accomplishment and this like tactile desire that we all have as human beings. And it's like we're all like moving to this digital world, but like, and it is interesting because as we're about to explore fundraising, there's such an emphasis on like tech, and I'm like, what about low tech? Like, when do we have enough tech? I mean, I do need to think of ways to digitize, obviously, the like community and like use the awareness of social media and things like that. But it's still like, at what point is it a negative effect on us? And most people can't read a map. Most people can't name two birds in their backyard. So it's just like, if someone doesn't get how do I find people? It's like, if they find me, I mean, I need to be a little more intentional with outreach because again, I've been head down. But so far I've been fortunate that like a lot of people have come to me who really see the vision, get it, and want to be on board. But yeah, I see it as either like somebody sees the need for this and it's like clear to me when someone gets it and when they don't.
In terms of the business side, how has the bow been taking off? Like, are you selling? I mean, without getting into numbers, like,
no,
are
it's cool.
Are you selling a lot of bows? Like, are people really getting into this? Like, not just following you on TikTok and watching your cool videos, but like, are people buying these bows?
They are, yeah. So we sold out of our first batch. So right now, because I'm doing all the marketing and all of the production and all running the space, the sales are based on when I post,
Wow.
So it's completely just, I don't have a multi-channel marketing yet. So it's
Omnichannel. Yeah, do the omnichannel thing. Yeah.
So I'm doing it all organic when I have time. And it's been great. So far we've made over $100,000 in bow sales.
Wow.
Yeah, in just a couple months. And I do expect we'll sell out before the end of summer and need to do a whole new batch. But of course, like I need help with production, supply and demand, and like, creating more options for people. Like there's a lot to be done. I want to do a line of clothes. I want to make more sustainable things, do brand collaborations, things like that.
That's so cool. That's awesome. I mean,
thanks.
Can you,
I mail them all myself too. I like write a note and like I like go to every time someone makes an order, I like go to the UPS store.
It's amazing how you do things, and I'm so impressed by it because I'm sort of like a one-man band. I do everything myself, but at a certain point, and I don't know if you can relate to this, I'm like, why am I doing this all myself? This is too much. I mean, how do you get to that point where you're like, I just can't be filling orders and getting bows done, and while also being an influencer that sells these bows? Like, when do you get to that breaking point of
I'm at it. I need it.
So now that you're at it, what do? I'm
gonna fundraise to be able to get more help and make more products. I think that's the next phase for us. I think we could sustain pushing forward with, I have part-time help and like people who hop in and help out, which is great. And I could sustain the business as is pretty well, but I think we can make a way bigger impact if I have help, and like right now, a video goes viral and I have 10,000 people on the website. I just have one thing to sell them. It's kind of like a waste of traffic, and like I get so mad at myself, but it's like I have to keep remembering like, okay, it's just a step. At least you have one thing.
But you're almost accidentally creating demand, Kendall, because of the fact that when people go, they're like, I want to give you money, but you won't take my money. I mean, that's in a way a good thing. I mean, you're obviously leaving some money on the table, but creating that demand is pretty special. I mean, some of the greatest brands on the planet, whether it's like a Supreme or Off-White, all these sort of like lifestyle brands, they have limited amounts. So that's kind of cool in a way where you're doing it accidentally, where you're building up a pent-up demand.
Yeah, it's true. I think that's like, I do get a little self-critical of stuff like that. Like a lot of people, like especially men, our bow's pretty light, right? So it's a beginner bow. So it's 25 pounds. Basically anyone could pull it back and shoot it pretty well. But I do get a lot of requests for stronger bows or people just being like, can I have it in pink or black or something?
But you're getting there, Kendall. You'll get there.
Yeah.
Do you think your years in marketing, grinding it out, doing all those things kind of prepared you for this? It's like those movies, like it all led to this moment in your life. Like, do you feel like all of those skills, whether it was you wandering in the desert, looking at birds, doing marketing events in these random Brooklyn spaces, that they sort of were your MBA and preparing you for this light part of your life?
That's an amazing question, Joe. Thanks. I think that like when I was younger, especially seeing people who had like parents who were in business or just were able to start businesses earlier, I would feel a little bit like, I want that, I want to say jealous, but inspired would be a better word. And knowing that like that was something that I desired, but I couldn't because, I need to work and make money. But I am so grateful that everything led me here because having had like worked in different dynamics and worked different ranks of a company and done all the jobs that I have before, I do feel like a better leader and like aware of people and like what's appropriate as a lead, like how to manage others and how to be kind and people first. And I don't know if when I was younger, without the experience of also just like reporting, like all elements of being a boss and being an employee, I'm grateful that I didn't start when I was 22 because honestly, I think a lot of people deal with HR issues that I got to experience and see from a way that a big corporation would handle things and what's right. I'm grateful for the path that led me here.
That's awesome. And lastly, I want to talk about legacy. So, Kendall, years ago, one of my very first interview assignments was after the Women's World Cup in, I think, 1998. I don't know if you recall this. Remember when Brandi Chastain kicked that game-winning goal and she ripped her jersey off? And it's this legendary Sports Illustrated photo where she was with her sports bra celebrating with her team the Women's World Cup championship. And at the time, in the 90s,
I feel like a bad queer that I don't know this like amazing moment. So I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. No, so absolutely. So in the late 90s, you might remember the name like Mia Hamm, female soccer player.
Of course.
So she was the leader of this team in the late 90s, and they won the World Cup on this goal by Brandi Chastain. It was a penalty kick. When she kicked the winning goal, she had her jersey. She ripped her jersey off and waved in the air, just exposing her wearing a sports bra. Iconic photo, cover of Sports Illustrated. But there was blowback of, oh my God, what is this woman showing her bra in front of the world? And so they did a ticker tape parade in New York City. This is how big it was. They did a ticker tape parade for the Women's World Cup team in New York City. And they did this little press tour. So all the players are kind of scattered about doing like these, they call us press scrums, where they like journalists all stand around them asking questions. And so Brandy's getting question after question about the negativity of the moment, as opposed to talking about the amazingness of the moment. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, there's a question here that I feel is more impactful than what everyone else is asking here. I just came out and I didn't even think about it. I just said, Brandy, after today, there's going to be little girls walking around wearing a Brandi Chastain jersey. Now, Kendall, before this time, the idea of someone wearing a jersey of a female athlete is just science fiction. Like at this point, the WNBA didn't exist. There was no like big star female athletes. So I said, how is it going to feel when you're walking down the street and you see a little girl wearing a Brandi Chastain jersey? Silence. And she, at that moment, started crying. She was like, I never thought about my legacy and my impact and what our victory did for the next generation. And I don't know, saying this through tears, I don't know how I'll react when I see that little girl wearing my jersey. And needless to say, many, many girls started wearing Brandi Chastain jerseys, Mia Hamm jerseys. And so the reason I bring this story up is, how are you going to feel when you're walking around one day and you see a little girl or even a little boy, regardless, carrying around one of your bows, that say Wild Captives on it? And are you picturing that moment in time where your legacy will have an impact on the next generation of people that are coming up, and that 10, 20 years from now, a Kendall Tichner starting a bow company or a bird watching company who makes binoculars and bows and apparel is not something out of the ordinary? How do you think that's going to make you feel?
Thanks, Joe. I mean, I don't even feel worthy of the comparison to the soccer stars, but and if there is a kid walking around with a bow and arrow, I'd probably be like, yo, you got to go inside with that, because that's kind of illegal.
Yeah.
But yeah, we make hats and we'll make other we make shirts and stuff. But I'm fortunate that I have gotten a lot of emails and photos of kids and girls shooting, and it makes every day worth it. And that's, to bring it back to your first question, what happens if it fails? It won't, because it's already doing that for people, and the messages I get from teachers and from, parents, it's what makes it all worth it. It's amazing. And I'm lucky to get to see the impact on kids and women and queer people firsthand, because they share it with me. I also, when I send the bows off, I write a note and I'll be like, send me pics.
Okay, I hope that's sort of short-term thing. You probably won't be able to do that when you're sending out 50,000 bows a week and stuff.
I know. It's, what it is, because I agree, I need to be better at delegating, and that's something I have to learn as a CEO of the company. But I love seeing where the bows are going, and I love shipping them out. It's like an adrenaline hit, and it's so, everything else requires so much brain power, and that doesn't. It's like the order comes in, I ship it out, so it's of course I should give that to someone else, but it's joyous for me. And so it's I'm not ready yet. And also it's not at the point yet where I can't do it, honestly.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Kendall, it's super exciting what you've done so far. I mean, I always like to joke that not all bad things happen during the pandemic. And this is one of those awesome things that happened, because, and I'm not going to ask you the sliding door questions, because people always make fun of me for asking it, because, what would have happened if there was no pandemic? Would you have ever found this? Who knows? We don't need to go there, but it's really cool that you were able to seize your time alone, wandering around that forest. I'm sure people were probably saying, who's that weird girl walking around with a bow out there? But the fact that you were able to take that time and make it into something that is going to have an impact on people for the foreseeable future, it's a pretty cool thing. And I'm just super excited to see what's going to happen next, Kendall. So thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. You're the best.
Thanks, Kendall. And that'll do it for another episode of the Forbes Books Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show. That way you'll receive new episodes as soon as they're available. And if you have a spare moment, I would greatly appreciate if you could leave a review on Apple or Spotify, which would help other exceptional entrepreneurs like you discover the show. You can always connect with me on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Joe Pardavila. And please, don't forget the golden rule and treat others as you want to be treated. Thanks for listening. Until next time, adios.